Yes.
I'll call that.
It'll be nice.
6 minutes. If you got 6 months, you can't really do it. Oh, you can. Oh, right. Living range. Oh, that's true. Right. That's true.
This time I'd
This
like
meeting
to,
is being recorded.
at this time, I'd like to call the March 2nd, 2023 regular meeting of the Common Council City of Placerville order. It's now 5:01 p.m. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
Individual, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Chairman, will you please conduct the roll call?
Mayor Rosenquist.
Here.
Counselor Vaughn. Here. Counselor Kelly.
Here.
Counselor Gibbs. Here. Counselor Collins. Here. Counselor Bob. Here. Counselor Moore.
Here. All councilors have received a copy of the minutes of the February 7th, 16th, 2023 organizational, or sorry, regular meeting. Sorry. A little typo in my script. All councilors have received a copy of the minutes of the February 16th, 2023 regular meeting. If there are no additions, deletions, or corrections, I'll now entertain a motion to accept the minutes as presented. Motion by Councilor Gibbs, second by Councilor Brown. Any changes, alterations, deletions? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Carried. I'll now recognize those in the audience who wish to share their thoughts and concerns with the council on any topic. To be acknowledged when called upon, we ask that you please take a moment just for the record. In accordance with the organizational rules of order, all speakers will be given 5 minutes to address the council.
Denise Nephew, Ward 2. I want to address the Margaret Street bid award. First of all, I looked on the website. I see no bid letter award for this project. Where is the bid award letter? All there is a statement, Reichenberg, 10,553,115. Who's recommending the award? I'm assuming it's CNS Engineers. That wasn't on the website. Where are the bids received? Did we get more than one bid from them? Reichenberg? That wasn't on the website. For the capital budget for Margaret Street in your approved capital budget, just under street resurfacing is 4.5 million, just like the Chamberlain has in your capital project, 4.5 million. That is correct. There are 2 other projects under sanitary sewer. There's 500,000 there. That's not in this resolution. There's water distribution system. There's 500,000 in there. Why isn't that in this resolution? Couldn't that be taking the place of some of these water fund bonds? Water fund bonds 2.183089. So I see from your approved capital budget, the total amount for Margaret Street approved is 5.5 million. Now, there's no doubt we need to redo Margaret Street. I'm not saying there isn't. However, this bid is way over budget. If Reichenberg's bid is 10,553,115, and you've only got 5.5 million in your approved budget, that's double. I did see in the capital resolution and MLD Enterprise Fund. Whatever it is, MLD's Enterprise Fund is not listed in the capital budget, whether that's something extra. I don't know, but there's another thing. And I feel in my 26 years of service in the engineering department, this is what we did. This is the stuff we worked on. This bid is way over budget. I've heard you're going to add port and brink. I don't see anything in this bid award about this. In the capital budget, you have Port Street, you have Brinker Hub. Is it a piece of it? Is it the whole streets? Is this what's jacking up all this? I mean, there's so many, there's a lot of, I mean, when you're, I'll answer your question. And then if you add, again, I already told you about the water distribution. If you add the two water distributions, oh, there is underwater distribution in your approved capital budget. 250,000 for port, 250,000 for green. And if you're doing part of those streets, why isn't that in there? Should be. Even if you add those 250,000 line items, you have 6 million in budgeted money only. And you're asking for 12. That's a heck of an overbid. I think it's your duty to reject this bid and rebid. You need to take a look at the scope of work and reduce this to what you have a budgeted approved amount in your approved capital budget. The council has the right to reject any and all bids. Did you know that? You have to amend the 2023 capital budget to award any of this. This is way over bid. Again, look at what Mr. Marks has put on your capital resolution. 4.5 million is what you approved. You're being asked to up the amount to 12,452,115. That's a heck of an overhead. Also, you're spending almost all your touring groups money. You won't have much CHIPS money left. Please do some research. Look into this. I'm not saying Margaret Street doesn't need to be done. But what cost to the taxpayer? At what cost to the city? Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to comment on any topic, please?
Capital Caspers Act, 115 Drive. I'm here because of the recent debacle, of the recent derailment on Ohio. Derailment, well, folks are suffering from much from that response to it. And I'm concerned about the Canadian Pacific going through here, once or twice a day. And they have very little trains. And apparently they have a very good safety record from what I'm learning, but there's always just besides accidents that can happen, there's possibly sabotage, especially in these rural areas we're living in. And just things that are getting dumped in the atmosphere, just something that is going to be with us for many, many years, unfortunately. So my question tonight is, are you folks aware of what chemicals are being transported through our community? And number two, what kind of disaster plan do you have in place specifically for those types of spills that they should occur?
Thank you. Anybody else would like to comment on any topic?
Evening.
Well,
My name is Beth Ashburner. My domicile is at 20 Lynch Street in Plattsburgh. Couple things, it's kind of been on the checklist for a few months now. It's going to go down the list. Infrastructure. There's a woman that struggles every day when she volunteers on Clinton Street because she's handicapped, and there is not a handicap parking place on Clinton Street. If someone could add that to your city infrastructure or public safety, that would be nice. That would be a step in the right direction. I drove by many, many times as all the wonderful streets and plots were being paved this summer to the 115 pothole sign on Raleigh Avenue. It'd be nice if those people, even though they're not paying taxes, would be afforded the opportunity to have a decent road. I'm speaking on their behalf. My other concern is definitely public safety, and in the same thing that Kathleen is saying, you know, we're in a time when there's a lot of sabotage going on around the country. There's a lot of fires of unknown origins, and there's the derailment that happened in East Palestine. My concern, having been trained on hazmat, for biological and chemical weapons, is the fact that MRP is within our community. Behind MRP are big, huge train containers full of vinyl chloride and chemicals like that. That's how they manufacture their plastics. I think someone in this city should get with MRP, find out what their policies and procedures are for hazards. I think it's in the best interest of the community that the hazmat team review that and the policies and procedures for dealing with chemical spills. First of all, what happened in Palestine, unfortunately, with the EPA is what they're calling contain burn. It was never contained in the first place. The reason you do containment to destroy a chemical like that is because it needs to be in a cylinder. When they drilled the holes in the tanks and they poured all that vinyl chloride all over the land, and then set it fire, that was not quite contained. Contained is actually, they would transfer the chemicals into another unit, ship it somewhere, and when they say they burned it, yes, that is what you're supposed to do, but it isn't burn it out in the open, uncontrolled. It's in a controlled container. It takes those chemicals and they become organic again. And the temperature to burn at is over 2,000 degrees. That's well established in the EPA paperwork. So you may want to make sure that your people on hazmat are well aware of the chemicals and how you deal with it in advance of the problem. We would better to be proactive than, have an emergency happen because we don't know. So that we can protect the people in this community. And that's what I have to say.
Thank you. Anybody else would like to discuss any topic with the council?
Hello, my name is Steve Brody. I live at 156 Beekman Street in Plattsburgh. April 15th is coming up. We all know what that means, right? First round of property taxes. And I was here, I think beginning of the year, mentioned that the city has a way to reduce the property taxes by 20 to 30%. And I'm sat there, I looked at the numbers, I said, okay, I can't figure out why nobody's not picking up this comment, trying to save the taxpayer money. Every single business, every single taxpayer, 20 to 30%. So today I did some little investigation. And I actually scared myself. You couldn't save 20 to 30% in taxes by switching from property taxes to current taxes at all. I was wrong. Almost 50% would be a savings over the total of what taxpayers are paying. Every single business, every single piece of property in the entire city of Plattsburgh could be between 40 and 50% reduction in property taxes. Not 2%, not 3%, not 20%, but 40 to 50%. Every single taxpayer. Mr. Kelly's been on the board. He has fought hard to save taxes. Unfortunately, he didn't want to do it the old school way. Eliminating services, eliminating firemen, eliminating police. This is simple. It's a public referendum. You put it before the taxpayers. You say, do you want to switch to a special service tax instead of property taxes as revenue for the city? Billy Jones says it can be done. It's been done in a number of cities. Albany is going that way. And as Mr. Kelly says, lower taxes mean growth. Lower taxes mean development. And that's why he was fighting so hard to save that 2%. You could save up to 50% on every single business and every single taxpayer in the entire city. That's astronomical.
And that's it. Thanks, sir. Thank you. Anybody else would like to say comments to the council? Seeing none, we'll now move on to committee reports. Each standing committee is chaired by a counselor. I'll now call upon a chairperson of that committee, starting with committee operations, Councilor Talon.
Nothing to report there. 2 Mondays from now.
City finance, there are a number of items on tonight's agenda regarding the Market Street development and other capital projects. City infrastructure, Councilor Kelly.
Nothing to report, Mayor, except that our March 6th meeting has been canceled. And the issues that come forward will be dealt with during the Finance Committee meeting later in the week.
Thanks, sir. Public Safety Counselor Bob.
We had our most recent meeting on February 21st. We had our usual reports from the building inspector and police department, and fire department. Good news from the fire department. They're tracking really well so far with their payroll and overtime, which is something that they've been working toward for a long time. So it's good to see. We have one resolution coming to the floor tonight regarding a capital project. And we did also talk about ongoing public safety mitigation measures, including traffic mitigation, such as potentially lowering the speed limit in the city.
Thank you. We'll now move on to liaison reports, Plattsburgh Public Library Council.
Oh, yeah, they worked at their budget this last meeting with a bunch of items. Unfortunately, I missed the meeting because they changed the time and forgot to notify me, which would have worked better for me because it was earlier, but anyway, so I'm gonna go and meet with Ann and catch up with whatever happened.
Great. Plattsburgh Municipal Light Department Council.
I have no updates, but our first meeting of the year will be at the end of this month.
Thank you. Public Smart Task Force Councilor Gibbs, Council Down.
I was talking to Courtney yesterday about working together on a public event for Earth Day, April 22nd. So I'll stay tuned for more information. And our organics subgroup met last night, and some of Dr. Kurt Burbage's students are going to be working with our group, so they're joining our meetings. So Mayor Rosenquist, we have created the final groups of buildings that need food audits, and I'm going to put that together and send it to Rochelle to forward to you. That's all I have at this time.
Thank you. Ms. Schneller, any staff member reports? No, sir. There are no special committee reports at this time, but the council has approved payrolls for the various city departments in the city of Plattsburgh for the week ending February 22nd, 2023, in the amount of $624,536.47. I'd also report that the bills audited by the common council for the weeks ending February 24th, 2023, in the amount of $2,680,785.23, and March 3rd, 2023, in the amount of $1,432,463.82. Before voting on the following resolutions, I'll note that the majority of these resolutions have been thoroughly discussed by the appropriate committees and department heads. We're now taking action on these items in large part due to the recommendation of those committees. Ms. Carlin, will you please read the titles of the resolutions to be acted upon?
Item 7.35, establishing capital project H5110.94, 2023 Margaret Street construction.
Motion. Councilor Bob, second. Councilor Talon, discussion.
Yes, I have a number of questions about this. We received this packet last month, and it breaks down the cost, what we're purchasing, you know, what the scope of the work is. And our updated one is there's a change in the cost. That is a total of $12,452,115. So on this resolution, I just had some questions about the way that the funding is explained here. We're going to, in the resolution, it says Market Street construction, $4,500,000. That $4,500,000 is a combination of touring routes and shifts in the total of $2,250,000.
Yes.
And then $2,250,000 coming from general fund funds.
Yes.
Now, why is it on the far right side? When it shows the breakdown, it says $3,746,554, and then underneath that it says $2,985,394. Why is there a difference between where it says? I just don't understand why it's worded that way.
One comes from the budget adopted, and I only looked at the streets for 4.5 million. I didn't notice that there was other items in, say, sewer, water or whatever, for some of the infrastructure. And when it was put into the report, 4.5 million for the streets portion of the work. It was general / chips,
Mhm.
wasn't really an allocation, so I guessed at 50/50. So that was what was in the budget for the streets work for Market Street for 2023. Now that's the budget. That's not appropriated, that's what's planned. And I think at the time, that's all that was planned was the street work that I know of, but I wasn't part of the discussions for the capital. Plan development. Now, what you see on the right hand side are the numbers relevant to the package you've got that show this 12,453,150. Broken down by each element of funding and the total cost of the job.
Okay, so the far right column represents what we're actually gonna be spending.
Yes.
So the total is 12,452,115.
Correct.
So minus the 4,500,000, no, excuse me, minus the 2,250,000, which I kind of look at turnarounds and ships money as like our infrastructure savings. It's money, it's cash on hand.
Yeah.
So everything else is going to be debt. It's gonna come from general fund, we're gonna borrow against sewer, water, enterprise, yes.
So it might actually be easier if we start by how everything is gonna be funded, because that might answer a lot of your questions.
But to be clear and just succinct, when we say general fund bond, that's borrowing.
Yes.
When we say sewer reserve, we're borrowing against,
No, that's already.
No, that's cash on hand.
that's the cash.
Yeah. That's
So-
the capital reserve is going to be transferred into the capital project to spend the money for that particular piece of the project.
So the water bond
Yes, borrow.
is borrowing.
Yeah.
NLD enterprise fund, is that borrowing or we're taking
They
that?
have a depreciation fund that they'll take that from and transfer that to the capital project as well.
So what is the total amount that then we are going to have to borrow?
About
Got
5 million. About 5 million.
5 million borrowing.
Sorry, Andrew.
No, you're good.
Now, is the plan still to,
Denise Matthews, please, and let the council do your business. Thank you.
is, I'm sorry, it's been a long week. Is the financial plan still to ban this money?
Yes.
To delay the borrowing for 2 years?
So-
As we had discussed?
So it's different for each fund. So for the general fund portion, the plan is to pay off $1 million out of our general fund reserve, which would bring down the 2.9 that would be borrowed down to 1.9 million. We would ban that for a total of 2 years. And then hopefully interest rates come down from the 4.5% to something lower, and we would bond it over a 15-year period. The good thing about doing that is over the next 2 years, right into 2025, we have about $250,000 that's coming off of our debt service. So your average monthly payment for that 1.9 million is going to be about $174,000 a year. So with $250,000 coming out of that, you're going to have about $60,000-$70,000 to deposit in the debt service.
Okay, so that's pretty close to what you explained to us when we had our legal meeting.
Yeah, the numbers actually, the bid numbers came in about $800,000 less than what the engineer's estimate was. A lot of that actually was in the general fund portion. So in this packet that was sent to you guys, all of the different color spreadsheets for the actual bid results, a lot of those numbers were lower in the general fund portion. So it actually helped us out because it saved us money in the general fund.
But
Now-
the overall cost is higher. So
No, the
originally,
overall cost is almost $800,000 lower than what the engineer's estimate is.
this report that you gave us quotes a total of $12,370,000. Tonight, we're looking at $12,452,000.
But I think that page you're looking at does not include the construction inspection portion. You have to add the construction inspection portion, which is 1.8 million project.
This is that, remember that packet you gave
Yes,
us?
yeah.
So this does not include that 1 million?
No.
But tonight's total of 12,452,000
That does include,
does include.
that is correct. That includes the construction inspection portion of it as well.
Now, is this the same million that we had approved last year for CNS engineering as part of it?
No, that was for the design.
It's a different million.
Yes,
So many millions,
so many millions.
so many.
Yes.
It is true, many of these things do not add up to our capital budget. And I do believe we should amend it. I understand this is the vote for the capital budget or the project itself. And then there are some subsequent votes. The contract award, I think I'm using the language correctly, is 66 pages long. I haven't had time to read through all of that because I was going through all these various funds.
Yeah, a lot of that, 100 pages, because this isn't a lump sum job, this is a itemized job, so the contractor actually has individual line items, they have to tell you what line item costs. So say they were to do excavation of 1,300 feet of trench, but the job called for 1,500 feet of trench, they only get paid for that 1,300 feet of trench. So they use line items so you know how much you actually have to bill them for. So on a big job like this, it works out better because if there aren't any overages, you're not paying the contractor for work that they didn't do.
So I would just say overall, there is more information here than I had time to digest between Tuesday night and tonight. I think the scope of the project is too large. I think we're taking on too much debt. I'm not saying that Margaret Street shouldn't be redone because I agree that the full depth reconstruction needs to be done. But the scope of this project is large and almost just about half of it is going to be debt. And I haven't had enough time to read everything over. I don't know, other councilors have some comments, but I have too many questions and I still have more to digest.
To be fair to council, this project and the scope of the project has been outlined since when, last year and
Early last year.
so we've been working on the scope of this project for quite a while. The bid that Andrew reviewed 2-3 weeks ago, and the engineer's estimate that came out, along with the number of public sessions that we had regarding the scope of the project, which Andrew then sat and outlined how the project was going to be funded pretty much line by line. That's something that's been in the hands of council for several weeks, if not longer. The only difference now that we're talking about is the bid response, which came in, as Andrew noted, $800,000 less than what the engineer's estimate was. Andrew has outlined extensively the funding model for this project, as he's also outlined the overall cost in terms of debt and borrowing to the city of Plattsburgh is going to be in the net positive, if you will, certainly less than what we're currently paying in annual debt service. So, you know, I don't know how much more time or outline or conversation or discussion or detail shared that Andrew could share with council.
One other point to make too is we had 2 of these packets before. One thing that we didn't provide this time, because looking at it with the mayor and CNS was, it just wasn't feasible for us to do the Breaker Hoffman Court Street sections from Oak Street to Beacon. It would have added about $4 million to our overall general fund budget, and that just wasn't feasible. So we didn't even, basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna take that, we're gonna package that portion up as a separate project and go to the state or SUNY to look for additional grant funding for that to be a possible future project. And get money through that for maybe like the east out pedestrian safety or TAP.
So the small section
Yes,
between Oak and Margaret is
that
included?
is
It's still
included in what you're voting on, yes.
Yeah. And I just want to make one final statement. In education, we say it takes as long as it takes. I need more time, and that's true for any counselor. I didn't support this last year. I made this very clear and all those reasons why, which are still exist tonight. Its scope is too large, it's too much money to borrow. And I agree, Margaret Street needs to be redone. But I can't get on board with this.
So the other thing on that point that I do want you to know is that the money for the water portion has already been borrowed. That was borrowed as a portion of the project that we did, the emergency water line project. So that project came under budget by several $1 million. So we are going to use the rest of that money to pay for this portion of the project.
How much was borrowed?
$10 million.
That's what I read.
Yep. And we're looking at it right around $70 million for the existing project.
So the money was borrowed and then that money went into the reserve.
Yes.
Am I
So,
remembering that correctly?
It's sitting in the capital project that was labeled for the work that was done on the base. So right now it's a surplus of cash, and when November comes, we decide whether we roll forward all of 10 million, which is 7 million for that project. And add 2 million for this project, but it's still roughly the same.
It's not really surplus of cash though, it's just the surplus of. what we
No,
borrowed.
cash is sitting.
No, but it's a surplus of what we borrowed that we put into cash.
Yeah.
That's what I just, it's not like, we just got $1 million in the government, it's, we borrowed it and it's sitting in an account versus spent.
Right, and it has
Just
to
want to
be,
be clear.
it has to be redeemed in November to either put it in serial bonds or roll it forward and that's the money.
Thank you.
so we're not, even though this is a resolution for a new bond, we're actually not going to be going and getting more money because, like Rich said, we already have that money.
Wasn't the sewer capital reserve, wasn't that money borrowed to create that?
No,
We had that much money sitting there.
we have that much anymore. We surplus about $1 million every year out of the sewer into the capital reserve. And with the sewer usage rate increase this year of 1.95%, we're probably gonna make it 1.1 million this year instead of 1 million.
Where is that stored? I don't see that in the cash report.
You see that once a month in the cash report that shows all the bank balances.
It was more like, I thought it was more like 2 million total. Okay,
No, that's the compost reserve for 2 million. The sewer capital reserve is, I think it's probably approximately 5 million right now. But there's also about, no, I think 4.5 million. I think there's about 4.5 million due back from one of the capital projects for the RIA funding that's supposed to come in.
so we're waiting on that.
Yeah, but that means we have close to 9 million, maybe 10 million by the end of the year in the sewer capital reserve.
I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, no, I'm done.
Yes.
I've asked all the questions you can ask. Thank you.
Andrew, my only question for you is, right when this all began, before we kind of got on some discussions, you said, if I explain the funding to you, a lot of these questions might be answered. Is there anything that hasn't been addressed that you would like to share?
We kind of jumped all over, so we just had to play this in my head.
That's what I kind of just wanted to.
So that, we covered that one. We explained paying down by $1 million out of general fund, so you're basically looking at $174,000 annual payment. Over 15 years for the bond for that. Water system. Again, that is money that we have. Ratepayers are already being charged for that $10 million, so there will not be an additional IIC because they're already paying on the IIC on that $10 million. So there would be no new IIC being charged for the water portion of it. Sewer funds, like Rich said, we have it in the sewer reserve. One thing that we were able to do with this project, which is a little bit unique, is that the storm sewer is typically paid out of your general fund. Our storm sewer out here currently is part of a CSO, which is a combined sewer overflow, which means that the storm sewer goes into the sanitary sewer, which goes by a potential spot where it can dump into the river on a high flow event. By doing this project, we are going to separate the storm sewer from the sanitary sewer and eliminate that, which DEC really likes. By being able to do that, we're actually being able to pay for our storm sewer out of our sanitary sewer funding, which we have covered by our sanitary reserve. So that was another portion that was one 0.2 million, I believe, that didn't have to go to general fund, we were able to put it into sanitary.
Thank you for kind of consolidating.
Yeah.
Because I think, like you said, we got on a lot of topics that we're all very. important with this.
So that covers a couple of them, construction in, so the award. Has the award for the construction company and yeah, it is a very good packet. 90% of this packet is the itemized line items.
You wanna wait on,
bidding.
you wanna wait on discussion of the packet,
Sure.
the awarding the construction? Until that has it?
Yep, we can do that.
Could you run that by me again, what you said the payments would be on the $5 million for 15 years?
Well, the general fund portion of
No,
it.
I also got,
So
let's said something like 100 and something thousand,
that's just,
on $5 million.
no, that's the general fund portion. That's the 1.9 million. That's 174,000 over 15 years.
So it'd be similar for the water.
The water,
So I
if
think
you
water-
order over 20 years. Yeah, the water's over 40 years, so that's different. So over 40 years, it's $85,000. If you were to go get a new bond, if we didn't have the money already sitting in the reserve account,
How come we only had one bid on this project?
we had two bids, Reichenberg and Gorecki.
How come we didn't get the information on those?
Because we were only, this is, Reichenberg was lowest qualified bidder, Gorecki was about $3 million higher. So because we were giving you lowest bidder, I didn't include that.
Usually we should see both, all of it.
I can certainly, I actually sent it to you,
I mean,
that's not a problem.
I mean, I just want to be clear right from the start that I have no intention of voting on any of this Margaret Street stuff tonight. I did not see all the monetary details. And I want to do some math on this. I also looked at some of the things that we're putting in downtown that I guess I have questions about. I didn't want to spend all night here and I haven't had a chance to go through all the material. I'm neither for nor against this, but I know we need to do the project. But I do want to look at this thoroughly. This is the largest project I can remember there ever being in Plattsburgh. And I don't think the numbers that I saw 48 hours ago on the contract and not seeing both bids or any bids for any of this work. I think we need to see that because I owe it, and I think we all owe it to the people of Plattsburgh to go over this very carefully. So I don't know, I'm not gonna vote on it tonight, but if anyway, it's not just up to me. I would just soon table it for 2 weeks and do the math on these things.
I'll piggyback off that. I would agree. I mean, I am in support of this project, and the scope of it and have been, I was on the PAC and I do think it's a great project. But I do agree that it is the biggest one that we're gonna see. Yeah, this is once in a couple generation type project potentially, and if other counselors feel that they need more time, I think we could all benefit from it, so I would support it.
Well, like one thing that jumped out, I mean, I don't want to start getting into each individual item, but I noticed we had some pretty expensive garbage cans in there. Is that what we need to do right off the bat, or could we, save a little bit of money because it's a big project. There's no doubt about it, and it's probably the most important project that I can remember being done in Plattsburgh.
You also
So I
have,
want to make sure that we've gone over everything very carefully.
you also
I know
have
you guys have had time to do that.
Right.
But I'm just looking at,
you also have $800,000 in the contingency too, so if we don't use that contingency, that's less money that you're gonna be spending on the project.
yeah, well, I don't ever remember seeing a project come in under budget. I
Oh, yeah,
always
it came in $80,000 in your budget.
Sharon River Trail Phase 2 came in under budget.
yeah, well, something like this. Okay, this is a lot different than that. We're digging Margaret Street up, which hasn't been dug up in 100 years. There's gonna be some surprises there. I know from
That's why we
my
have.
previous things, so when you start digging in the ground, especially in what can be contaminated or who knows what's down there. I'm sure there's a lot of stuff sapped up, other stuff. I know some of the pipes there run under the buildings and
Nothing that, and no work that we're gonna be doing on them.
No, but I mean. Some of the connections there, like, I don't know if you're planning on doing that, but I would not connect to this building that goes to this building over here. We need to connect to this building, this building, and this building.
Right.
So I know.
All outlined in the plan.
Yeah, I know for a fact that there's a lot of that.
Right, and we did discuss that, so, right.
Yeah, it's important, but I just want to be sure that we've done our own. On a project of this size. I mean, this isn't, you know, we're doing Coconut Avenue, we're doing a lot of infrastructure.
And I also, I appreciate the need to be thorough, but please keep in mind, this isn't. We've been working on this for a year, more than a year, so none of this is brand new, right? So.
Well,
You've attended, Councilor Moore, you've attended public sessions, you have this information in front of you, this is not brand new information. I appreciate the need to, you know, look, I appreciate the need to review it, if there's concern over delaying the project for 2 weeks, maybe Andrew can speak to that, but. At the end of the day, I got you, at the end of the day, you know,
I know.
you've been involved in this, so.
Not to this level. Now I'm seeing the numbers, I'm seeing the things that we're gonna do specifically. Then looking at this, you guys, more than I have. Weeks probably before I have, but this is the first I've seen of this, and I wanna make sure that I've been thorough for this project, so that we're doing it in a conscientious manner. That's all I'm saying, and I haven't had a chance, this is the first 48 hours, I did not have time, this is the first time I've seen that contract. First time I've seen the scope of the project and the materials and some of the things we're putting in there. And I do know a little bit about this kind of stuff. And I just want to review it, and I think everyone should, because like I said, this is the biggest project that we've ever done in Plattsburgh, and to you know, get these final figures and numbers and things. I think I want to do the math. I always do that with everything I do.
So
I'm not questioning what anybody has to do.
I just want to-
And it is a necessary project, and we are going to do it. Does not come into question.
But the problem is piggybacking off what the mayor said, if we don't vote on this tonight, that puts us back 2 weeks, which means the contractor can't start ordering pipe and everything for construction season for this year. Which means we have to potentially miss out on construction season this year.
Is that gonna happen in 2
I
weeks?
think it would happen in 2 weeks. It's gonna be 2-year
It
project.
depends on.
I mean,
It's a
we are
2-year
gonna
project, but
have all the materials for the entire project.
is it a 2023, 2024, 2024, 2025?
Well, then also keep in mind, there are phases to this. So the first part is the water sewer infrastructure, and that's really the highest priority that we're looking at. You know, I don't know, maybe there is a concern for delaying 2 weeks, maybe not, but I mean, like, if that's the risk that we have to take, then that's the risk we have to take. You know, you guys are aware. When in the beginning of this, the priority has always been water sewer infrastructure. And I said, look, y'all can replace water sewer infrastructure and do nothing else. That's fine, but at the end of the day, why not build our primary downtown into something that we're proud of, that the street's not crumbling, while at the same time, we're securing that, and securing and replacing 1903 infrastructure. Because as we've seen, even this year, we've had a number of multiple breaks along Margaret Street and the side streets along that. Oak Street, which was dug up for 2.5 months last summer, is a result of what's happening down here.
Same age, but.
So you know, not pressing you, we can delay, that's fine, but I also know that there are people that have been pretty vocally opposed to the project from the beginning, and delaying is not gonna change anybody's mind in that sense. So. you
That
know,
is not the purpose.
Understood,
Counselor, I just want to be sure that things in order.
I guess you're being so awesome over there. Counselor Bond, please.
I'm a little bit, my stuff is a little bit more lighthearted, and I wanna apologize for repeating maybe something that Councilor Morris said and even, Elizabeth. Maybe I should talk to people more, and I don't, so I do duplicate some things, but, my big thing is, what is the barest of the work that can be done? is that something that was even talked about? I am.
I'm sorry, say that again. The most minimal amount of work.
There's the bears. I understand it needs to be done. I met with you and Mike
Right.
and you showed me everything that was going on and it was very informational, but was that a concept that we even approached?
So basically, when you look at it, you're doing, the reason we're doing this project is because of the utilities, aged utilities. So the bears you're gonna do is you're gonna do water, you're gonna do sewer, you're gonna do storm. So you're doing the utilities. Now, by doing the utilities, you have to tear the roadway up anyways. So
Absolutely.
you're paying to replace it. So really, the extra money you're paying for isn't gonna be a whole lot in comparison to the project because the meat of the work is the utility work.
Coming from a frugal family, what I don't understand is like Councilor Moore said, some of the basics, or some of the extra things like the garbage cans or, I did go line for line.
Yep.
And there were so many things that I didn't understand we needed or that we, right now. All the little extras like the garbage cans and I didn't understand what the basic work zone traffic control, that was a big number.
That is a
Like,
huge
what
number.
was that?
So basic works on traffic control is how you're getting people around downtown while construction is happening. That's your flagman. Those are your signs to let people know which way they have to travel during.
That big of a number?
That is a huge number. And actually, that is where we save the majority of our money from. Because the engineer's estimate had that number much higher than what the bid came back as. Yeah, traffic control is huge, especially in the downtown areas when you are leaving businesses open and you're leaving traffic flowing while you're digging up the roadway.
Okay, and I get that,
And you're actually approaching it the right way. When you look at this, you start looking at the biggest numbers first.
and I did,
That's
and then I went
exactly
back to
what you're
like
supposed to
mowing, why do we have to mow? Doesn't DPW mow anyway, so why do we have to pay for mowing?
Well, and that's the mowing portion is when they establish sod, if they have to come back and mow. Some of those line items aren't necessarily gonna get used, but they have to put them in there in case they do. And that's why this is a unit price job and not a lump sum job. If there's a lump sum job, regardless of whether they did it or not, they're getting paid for it. Unit price job, if they don't do the work because we don't require it, they will not get paid for it, even though it's.
Because I mean, like I said, I did the line for line, my husband's construction, so he helped me understand a lot of the different things. And this is a big chunk of money that we're spending, and I am new, I know I keep saying it, but I am, and I wasn't here last year, so I didn't get any of that.
But like Councilor Moore said, this is one of, and we had this conversation earlier between the water line project that we did last year, we're gonna complete this year. Margaret Street and then Cornelia Street, those will be the three biggest projects the city has ever done. Those are huge projects.
And then we had Harborside coming up and all that other stuff, and so obviously, you know, the red lights are going off in front of my eyes in the morning. But I just wanted to say this is lighthearted, I guess, but my daughter lives down in North Carolina. And I went and saw her last November. She took me to this place called Burkdale Village. And what it is, it's considered their downtown area, one of many. And I went and it was in November, so they were all geared for Christmas. And they had a skating rink, yes, in North Carolina, in the middle of this place. And they had a village for Santa, and they have this big, huge screen that they show year-round movies and all that other stuff. Like, this is so cool. Can you see Plattsburgh doing something like this? No, because it's Plattsburgh. We don't have that kind of funding, but it was fun. It was fun to see it, and I took a video. I'm going to bring it back and show everybody. And I'm like, you know, this is great, but the fact of the matter is, it's Plattsburgh. And this money is alarming me, it is, and I come from a very frugal family, and this money it's alarming me where everything, and I'm still learning, so would I like 2 extra weeks? Heck yeah, I would love it, so, and then I would like to talk to people, I need to start conferring with them. I'm trying to do this on my own, and I probably shouldn't, but, Can we get grants? And I mean, is there not some way to get funding?
So as of right now, there hasn't been anything that we've been able to apply for. If you go apply for grants now, you have to put it back out to bid, because when you get grants, there's certain requirements in the bidding process that you have to do. Because the contractor has to meet, women and minority owned business obligations. There's all kinds of different things that they have to meet. So basically, we would be starting from scratch. They would want to review plans, make changes to plans.
And I'd also encourage the council to understand that touring routes, chips, all that is not considered grant funding, but it is considered cash to put towards projects like this that we don't have to compete for, we don't have to apply for, to come to the city because we have this kind of infrastructure. The kinds of projects that we would go to apply for grants for would be the kinds of projects like the Harborside Master Plan, Saranac River Trail, things like that, where, or even the add-on alternatives of Port and Bridge Route, where we have the plans in hand. They focus on specifically interconnection between SUNY campus and educational institutions, safe routes to schools, walking bikeability of neighborhoods, things like that, where it's a little bit more attractive versus we need to, put new sidewalks in downtown and make downtown more attractive for business improvement.
Utilities are hard as well, because there aren't a lot of grants out there that for utility upgrades.
And then I keep hearing, I hear people, chips, that we're gonna run out, or we don't have enough, or if we use all this, what are we gonna do for paving,
Right, so based off of this, the $3.5 roughly million that we're gonna be using in here. Based off of what we've been getting over the last 5 to 10 years between chips, touring routes has been about 3 years now. We will still have over $1 million left. So that still leaves us almost $1 million for repaving our road or resurfacing our roadways like we've been doing. We didn't want to eat up all of our chips. There were more items in here that I could have taken and absolutely decimated our chips balance, but I didn't want to do that because I wanted to leave some of that money available so we could still purchase equipment or resurface our roadways.
So once again, I'm sure you answered, but I'm still gonna. We did not have the option to shave a lot of this stuff off, was that not?
You're kind of having to put it back after you dig up the roadway to redo the utilities.
Some of it,
anyways.
yes, but
Well, can
Right.
I just advise that a little bit? So where that came from, where the scope of the project came from, and a lot of those details came from, are from those repeated public meetings and
Yes.
repeated public surveys. So that's how the project was designed and worked on in the past several years. So that's where it came from, was the things that people identified that they wanted to see with the market.
So that was actually why it's gonna get converted to a one-way, because the public engagement portion, the public wanted to have Market Street one-way, bike racks, benches, trash
was there a
cans.
big turnout? I think how much was one.
I don't remember. We did have a lot of people that showed up to the public engagement meetings, but we had a lot of people that took the online surveys that we put out.
I took the survey.
So where we made a mistake with that, we had 3 choices. Okay, I think there should have been 2 choices, one way or whatever, or 2-way. There was actually more than 50% of people wanted it 2 ways, but there was 3 choices. So it ended up a less than a majority wanted the 1 way, but it was the biggest vote. You should never have like a 3 choices, because a lot of times you could end up with a choice that wasn't what the majority of people wanted.
It's an emerging issue.
Well, there was also, just to be fair, there was also parking constraints as well.
Right, and
People wanted to
Yeah,
retain,
narrow street, yes.
yeah, people wanted to retain the parking, they wanted to retain the parking.
And at your request, we designed this so that we could convert this road back into 2-way without having to do any construction. So your curb widths and everything, you can still maintain some parking and you can still go back to a 2-way street without having to do any construction. Whereas the original way it would have been designed, you would have had to tear the whole roadway apart and reconstruct it.
It's a good idea.
Do you know the majority of yeses to, oh, we want this done, to no, we don't want this done? I mean, I don't know.
I don't know that we asked the question of you want it done or not, because we were looking at more of focusing on having to do utilities, so the road was gonna be tore up anyways.
The number of people who responded to the survey was a few hundred, I think.
It was 1,000.
It was 1,000,
Which is a good sample size. I mean,
a nice sample size, of only 19,500 people living in the city, and was there any way to determine how many of those people were actually city residents, were gonna be the ones to pay for this?
Yeah, we did have that data.
And again, it is $12 million project around the voices of the minority number
How
of
else
people.
would we have done it?
I don't think that's the debate, but look, at the end of the day, there was significant amount of public engagement, significant amount of public feedback. That's how the project came to the design that it is. This wasn't done in a vacuum, council was involved, council was invited to public meetings, they could have come if they wanted to.
It's all available on.
Downtown business.
Also, online downtown businesses were engaged, public advisory committees were engaged. This didn't just materialize.
The firm
This
said
was
that-
work that was done.
They had never seen like that level of public engagement in their efforts to do this kind of thing before, but they were like Plattsburgh rock stars for how much engagement they were getting. So when other cities take the same approach, they make these decisions with even less data. I mean, this was something I was very impressed by the efforts that were put forth to engage. the public.
I for sure, we
But
had,
it's
did
only
spend,
1,000 people.
but we did spend a lot of time on this, and I really don't think we should be putting backwards into that at this point. But, you know, I think we avoided a lot of the, you know, more horrible aspects like the corner of Brinkerhoff and Martin, they put that weird bump out that you gotta pay attention that it's there. And
That's actually crash data shows that's one of the most frequent places that have access.
So, Mayor.
Like is any.
Well, I've hesitated to say anything because I wasn't sure you could hear me. Hopefully you can. It seems to me this boils down to two questions. Either we vote on this tonight or we table it. And I would say, you know, if it appears as though maybe two of our members are interested in tabling, but let's take a vote on that and see if that's something we want to do. And if we don't want to table it, let's go ahead and have the vote. I just like to say one thing about this, and if you believe in downtown Plattsburgh as I do, this is a wonderful way to bring this city closer to where we want it to be. If you think of all the wonderful things that have happened downtown in recent years, the Betty Little Arts Park, for example, the improvements at the Strand, you know, the hope perhaps of having housing downtown for 100 families is a wonderful notion, I believe. So I just don't like it very much when people say we're just Plattsburgh. No, we're just Plattsburgh because that's what it used to be. The day that we start believing in ourselves, believing in the dreams that we have for the city, then we will be the Plattsburgh we would love to be. So I would say, you know, there's two things you can do. You can table it for 2 weeks, or you can vote on it. The interesting thing about this is nobody said that they're opposed to the project. We're unanimous that we want to do it. It's just a matter of, I suppose, having people feel more comfortable with it, but the amazing thing, we all want to do it, and we all see the benefit of doing it. So that's it. I'm going to lower my hand now.
Well, okay,
Thank you.
I'll make the motion that we table this till the next regular.
Motion stated second.
Second.
Counselor Bob, all in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Motion.
Opposed.
Okay, one in the negative.
So is that just for 735 or?
Yes, so it'd be a motion to table the others as well.
Yeah, yeah, you're gonna table that.
I don't know if we have to do
Just give me a moment. No, I got it. All right, item 735 has been tabled. I'm gonna take a motion to table items 736 through 739. Motion by Counselor Bob, second by Counselor Moore. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. 7.40.
This one's a lot easier than the last one.
Item 7.40, award construction phase for local pedestrian safety action plan PSAP project. Motion, Counselor Bob, second.
Questions?
Second by Counselor Bond, discussion.
I thought originally we weren't gonna have any cost on this, but we are gonna end up with a small cost.
No, this is all grant funded.
Yeah, so this was initially, this project was gonna be the intersection of Cornelia and Broad Street, the one that we call the Triangle of Death there by Walgreens. And then the intersection of Prospect and Cornelia. Those two projects are actually going to be done as a portion of the Route 3 corridor project that is getting funded through GOT. So the other four options that we had were Beacon in Cornelia, North Catherine in Cornelia, and then, and there's a third one, and then Brinkerhoff and Oak Street by the library. We didn't do that one because that one was going to be a portion of the Margaret Street project, so it left us with the other two. So we put those out to bid. Bids came back at $378,000. The overall award that we had from the state for this grant was $576,000. So that covers the design, it covers the construction and the construction inspection. That will be paid for out of the MLD coffers until such a time that we get reimbursed. The funding for that was already approved by the council back in 2018 when the bid was awarded. So basically all you're doing now is voting to award the project.
Yeah, I just saw a comment. I know when I first moved here, I thought it'd be a nice walk to go up to Walmart.
Yeah.
I did that once.
Yeah, I never did.
Never did that.
And hopefully this project that we're working with the state should fix a good majority of that. That's gonna be a really good project.
Does that route, just a little off topic, does that Route 3 project extend all the way into town?
That goes right to the city limits, so basically, yeah, Texas Roadhouse, down to Prospect.
We'll be able to walk to that.
Yeah.
Well, there's a sidewalk on the.
Yeah, there's a
side of
sidewalk.
the street.
That's true.
How far is the city limits on that northern side?
Okay, so.
I know it's not the same, it's.
It's a little funky, so you have, and I always forget if it's Healy or Haley, I think it's Healy.
Past that.
So where Starbucks is, the corporation line actually goes between Starbucks and Taco Bell to the southerly road downs of Route 3. So this is the McDonald's side, so it follows that road downs, and then at McDonald's, the kind of weird side street that goes up towards the back entrance of Aldi's. So that's called Churchill Street. Churchill Street is actually a city street. So it cuts across the road right there. So McDonald's and everything on the left-hand side, Starbucks, that's all within the city. But Texas Roadhouse and the vacant lot to the right-hand side of Texas Roadhouse is in the town of Buxton.
Okay, I always wondered that.
Yeah.
Okay, nice.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Counselor Bond,
Yes.
Counselor Kelly,
Yes.
Counselor Gibb,
Yes.
Counselor Talon.
Yes.
Counselor Bob,
Yes.
Counselor Moore.
Yes,
Carried.
Item 7.41, award of construction inspection phase for the pedestrian safety action plan. project.
Motion by Counselor Bond, second. Counselor Bond, discussion. Roll call.
Counselor Bond.
Yes.
Counselor Kelly.
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs.
Yes.
Counselor Talon.
Yes.
Counselor Bob.
Yes.
Counselor Moore.
Yes,
Carried.
Item 7.42, authorize the mayor to execute revised ProAct contract.
Motion. Counselor Bond, second. Counselor Bond, discussion. Roll call.
Counselor Bond.
Yes.
Counselor Kelly.
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs.
Yes.
Counselor Talon.
Yes.
Counselor Bob.
Yes.
Counselor Moore.
yes,
Carried.
Item 7.43, authorizing the mayor to sign a pole attachment agreement between the city of Plattsburgh and Slick Network Solutions Inc.
I'm sorry, motion. Counselor Bond, second.
yeah, I have one question on.
Counselor Bond, discussion.
Move on.
Do you have a question?
No, seconded the,
We don't charge it with them at all for using the poll?
I believe that there is a small charge.
I know it's a long thing to read and I didn't.
I believe that there's a small charge for anybody to connect to city polls, MLD polls, as there are fees that if we were to have to connect to their. To like
Yeah, I know they charge it.
yeah, they will charge us and we will charge them.
Thanks.
Yep. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Counselor Bond.
Yes.
Counselor Kelly.
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs.
Yes.
Counselor Talon.
Yes.
Counselor Bob.
Yes.
Counselor Moore.
Yes,
Carried.
Item 7.44, mayoral appointment.
Motion. Counselor Bob, second. Counselor Bond, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried.
Item 7.45, authorizing revising capital project H5110.78, 2021 public service building.
Motion. Counselor Bob, second. Sure, Counselor Talon, the first hand I saw. Discussion.
what is this one?
Yeah, this is
I know
the-
This is.
Sorry, this is the item, this was the item that was approved at the finance committee to make the final adjustment to the apron. Capital project for the fire department.
Oh,
The bill went to, the bill went to DPW, it got lost in the mix. Somebody called to ask for it, and we tracked it down, it was fire department, and so it's down again. We got it last week. Any further discussion, it's like for $1,000, $1,200,
1282.50,
1280.
and we think that's the last one that's floating around.
If it does, if it's not, it's coming out of Scott Wall's pocket. Any further discussion, roll call.
Counselor Bond.
Yes.
Counselor Kelly.
Yes.
Counselor Gibbs.
Yes.
Counselor Talon.
Yes.
Counselor Bob.
Yes.
Counselor Moore.
Yes,
Carried. There's no executive session tonight, any new business come for council,
I don't think this is new business. Can I just clarify something?
please?
This is kind of for Mike's benefit. When I say it's just Plattsburgh, I by no means belittle or mean anything in a demeaning manner to Plattsburgh. I was gone for 15 years. And this is the place I chose to come back and raise my children. I have grandchildren. I love Plattsburgh. I was simply saying that it's not Charlotte, North Carolina. So, and we have, you know, so Mike, by no means am I saying it's just. Plattsburgh. I'm not, I love Plattsburgh.
And if I was piggyback on that, I know it's not new business.
Understood.
I know,
Understood. Counselor Bond, thank you.
we're not Burlington either,
No.
and we're not doing these projects to be Burlington, we're not doing it.
All the time.
We are Plattsburgh, okay, that's it, this is why we're doing it, we're doing it because we have pride in Plattsburgh, we're doing it because we have pride in our community. And that's why we're doing this, and for people who say, oh, we're only Plattsburgh, I know that's not, I didn't take that way.
Okay.
I'm a returner as well, I came home for a reason.
Yeah.
But this is what people are asking for. People are asking for projects to have pride, and people are asking for improvement, people are asking to be more attractive than we are. And that's what our job is. So we're responsible for. That's why we're doing the Riverwalk, that's why we're doing Parks Renewal, that's why we're doing Margaret Street, Cornelia Street. Saranac River Trail, that's why we do these things.
Well, and on that note, like, this place is a gem, and I think growth is inevitable. I've seen it happen sprawling up the Northway my whole life. And it's important that we are harnessing that and controlling it and making sure it's going in a positive direction. It reflects what we want to do. So that's.
All right, motion adjourned. Counselor Gibson, Counselor Bob, all in favor? What's that?